Should you get carried away by the recent spike in gold and silver prices? Gold, as we talk, it's a Saturday today, the markets are closed. But when it closed last night, it was 1,62,000 per 10 grams. Internationally speaking, $4,600 per troy ounce. Silver almost close to 2,50,000 per kilo. In dollar terms, almost $70, a little less than $70. Should you get carried away? Should you buy now? Is this rally here to stay? And what should you do if you had bought gold in the first week or last week of January at a very high rate of, let's say, 1,75,000, 1,70,000, or maybe 1,80,000? Is it the time to exit, to book the loss as minimum as of now? Because until now, when the gold was 140 and silver had almost touched 2 lakhs, your losses were phenomenal. Well, those people who had bought at higher prices, they want to know if they should exit now. Maybe these prices don't come again. Maybe these prices start receding. All these questions, and of course the people who bought it cheaper, should they book this profit? These are the questions which are haunting the minds of a lot of people who invest and trade in gold and silver. But before we take the perspective of gold and silver, it's important to understand the geopolitical scenario, the backdrop. As I say always for the people who follow and listen to me regularly, that to be able to understand the world of investment, finance, stock markets, commodity markets, it's extremely important to understand the geopolitical perspective. Because that is one factor internationally which has been impacting our lives directly or indirectly. And a lot of us, we get lost in our own country's happenings. That we forget that there's a huge world outside the country where so many things happening can directly or indirectly start impacting our life. If not the life, then money, definitely. The Indian stock markets, they open in the morning by taking international cues, by the way, for the people who do not know. Let's see what happened on the war fronts, the various wars either going on or about to erupt around the world. Russia, Ukraine. At least 20 people have died in 2 cities of Ukraine after a barrage of missiles from Russia hit Ukraine. This was a revenge after Ukraine had launched 3,000 drones taken from UK on Russia in 3 days. And Russia had vowed a revenge, and we can see it on ground now. Meanwhile, tensions building up even more between Turkey and Israel. As we all know, Israel was hitting Syria. These bases were supposed to be in Syria belonging to Turkey. And Turkey has now issued an arrest warrant against Netanyahu, the Prime Minister of Israel. Arrest warrant. And America has given a big statement that Turkey and Israel are on the verge of a full-fledged war. So that's another war which may be just about beginning to happen, or maybe not, let's hope so. Let's see what's happening in Iran, US. Well, on Monday, US will make an announcement of, as Trump says, unprecedented economic sanctions on Iran. Something which people haven't seen before. That's a typical Donald Trump dialogue. That's something which you haven't heard of before or you haven't seen before. Those sanctions will be unveiled on Iran. We'll have to wait and see what these sanctions are like. But Donald Trump has given some indications of what those sanctions could be. They could be something like, oil smuggling blockages, swap lines, stopping of cash transfers, banning of exchange houses which are trading in dollars or Irani riyals, and banning some of the front companies which are working in disguise. Donald Trump, if you remember, also said that we will hit with sanctions the countries which are supporting Iran. And these countries, I can tell you, China is on top of the list, importing huge quantities of oil from Iran. Then there is UAE, there is Turkey. Of course, UAE has stopped recently. Turkey, Iraq, and Pakistan. These are the countries who've been dealing with Iran, regularly. So these sanctions will also hit these countries. We'll have to wait and see. Meanwhile, the Iranian President Pezeshkian says that it's time to end war. But if they impose economic sanctions, we will hit back. We will take revenge. Now, Iran can't take a military revenge. I'm sure can't take an economic revenge. So obviously the revenge is going to be military. So there's a risk of war breaking out again after these economic sanctions are announced by President Trump. Meanwhile, tension building up between China and Taiwan once again. One of the Chinese ships was seen extremely close to Taiwan, which Taiwan has given a warning to China. It remains to be seen whether America is going to come and help Taiwan. It was an American support that Taiwan, until date, had been able to keep away a Chinese invasion, just like South Korea managed to keep away a North Korean attack because of the American support. Whether this new administration in America, trying to build a new world order, will actually be friends with Taiwan and save Taiwan in case of a Chinese invasion, remains to be seen. Only time will tell. Meanwhile, Bangladesh, if you remember, there was an Islamic NATO formed between Turkey, Pakistan and Saudi Arabia. Now Bangladesh wants to join this, is contemplating joining this particular alliance, the Mecca alliance as they say. This is being called. That's going to be very stressful for India, with all these nations joining hands, keeping in mind that Pakistan is a nuclear armed nation. Now let's move on to the geoeconomic front. Well, just when we were on the verge of seeing the Canada and US trade deal, the whole deal seems to be getting out of the window now, because Mark Carney, the Canadian Prime Minister, has now read that this is an unfair deal. And he said it's going to be dollar for dollar. We are not going to agree to anything which is coming as an unfair trade practice proposal from America. So that deal seems to be in a limbo once again. Let's come to gold and silver from where we started. Now, my first statement would be, I think you should be very cautious. I already told you the gold prices, but one should not get emotionally carried away. Rallies are never one way. They always, pause, they always think. They always have factors which can make them consolidate and of course recede as well. Well, my biggest concern on why I'm saying this is crude oil. It is hovering around 94. And on Monday when these sanctions are announced, it is quite possible, as I said, Iran may retaliate by way of a military strike or something mischievous being done, to which America will have to again, answer. So that can take the crude oil prices through the roof once again. Not that they're low here at this point of time anyway. But if crude oil prices were to shoot up to 100, 120, whatever, that will bring dollar in demand once again. So the weak dollar, which has been the main cause of gold rise, this recent rise, that weak dollar could become strong by default because of the high demand of dollar around the world. Although weak dollar has been the main cause of this recent spurt in gold and silver prices. It is now being said by larger groups, if you've seen my video yesterday, even the larger groups are saying that dollar will struggle to keep itself high now. That's been the main reason. Now what happens if you bought it more expensive? You bought it in the month of January, let's say last week, for 170 or 175. Should you keep it or should you sell it? I don't think it makes any sense for you to sell at a loss. It is right now at 162. You're not far away from that point, so it's better to wait. My analysis says 2 to 5 years, gold and silver are going to do very, very well. If you bought it cheap, you bought it say for 50,000 rupees for 10 grams, you're now into almost 3 times profit. Maybe you can partly book if you need money, and you can keep some of it for bigger gains. If you brought it at par, I still don't see, unless you need money desperately, I still don't see any point in your selling right now. So that, to my mind, should be the strategy. Just a word of caution. Normally, when this kind of price rise comes, people get carried away. They just get emotional. Investing is not done from here. Investing is done from here. It's a matter of discipline. So be very cautious. I think you have to consult your investment financial advisor. But if I was you, I would be putting in very small lots every time there's a correction and keep it for a very long time. And not very long time is not actually very long, it's just 2 to 5 years. So that's the word of caution. It is up to you. Do make a comment, let me know if you like this analysis. The channel is pretty new, started in August. This is a handful of videos yet, but I can promise you that there's a lot more to come as far as this channel is concerned, which will definitely help you in enhancing your wealth, in augmenting your wealth, in increasing your income, preventing you from losses. Anything related to money would be here. So if you like the contents, my humble request, please do subscribe, comment, share, press the bell icon. It'll keep me motivated to bring across to you many such videos. Until we meet again, thank you very much.